Welcome back to the Positive Side Podcast. Glad you're tuning in. The host, Jeremy Todd. Glad, jacked up, fired up that you were in on this episode. This episode is going to be, I've talked about depression on the show a lot of times, and today we're going to go over six ways that I deal with battling my own depression. Now, I wrote a book. I don't know if you guys have seen it, The Positive Side: How I Overcame Bullying, Bankruptcy, and a Bad Attitude and Found My True Identity. Make sure you run over to Amazon, grab that book, because I get into a lot of that depression stuff in there that I've struggled with my entire life, and I still struggle with it today. Um, it's just, I don't know. It comes and goes. It's weird. Sometimes it's stronger than other times, and I just want to be left alone. It's so bizarre. Like me being this extrovert person, I love talking about my life and meeting people and having stories and having fun. Yet when this depression thing hits me, it's like my whole world comes not crashing down, but just closing in. Um, it's hard for me to explain. But again, it's in the book, and I talk about some of the imagery that I deal with and some of the things that go on in my head. And I think one of the most important things I can do is talk about it, because I think it's more prevalent than we realize. I think a lot of people struggle with it. I think it's real. I think it's better for some and worse for others. There's different variations and levels of the depression, but the depression I deal with is my own, and it's my own story, and it's the things that I struggle with daily. I wouldn't say daily. Some days I'm in a better mood, but more often than not, let's just say that I struggle with it quite a bit. But these are some of the things that I do when I mention them, when I feel this depression coming on. And today's one of those days that I'm just not feeling it for whatever reason. And no reason, I guess. It's a pretty good day. I got some things done. But it's just weird how that stuff works. It's just like this fog that comes around me, and I don't know how to really explain it. But this is what I'd like to do when I feel the depression coming on, and when I am depressed. And I hope this message resonates with you. If you fight depression, you struggle with it, if you're in a bad mood, whatever the case is, or if you're just in a little bit of a funk, I'm hoping this message resonates with you, and it'll actually bring you some relief and some direction more than anything. It's just I guess that's the biggest thing, is that where do you go from here when you're in that funk? What do you do? So let's get into these six things. Number one, I like to sit alone and process my thoughts, and that's really where I'm at today. Like I said, it's not a particularly bad day, and nothing particularly happened. It's just this feeling that I get that I don't. Maybe it's overwhelming. Maybe I've got a lot of things going on. Maybe there's too many things on the plate. But this is what I really like to do. I like to just block out everything. I don't like to talk to anybody. I don't like to I don't like to text or call or anybody. I just really like to process it in my own head. And the things that I process is a lot of times it's just when you're solo in your head and you just think about things. It allows you to just, okay, why am I depressed? Why am I upset? Is this normal? Is this natural? How do I get out of it? Um, is it something that I've thought about in the past through, and I evaluate my life? Are things going the way they should? Is this depression telling me that I'm going down the wrong path for some reason? Do I need to change something else up in my routine? What do I need to do differently? And again, sometimes it's nothing. So it's just working my way through it and not having anybody else tell me about how great I am or anything like that, or tell me how wrecked my life is, or whatever the case is. I just block it all out. I just don't feel like talking to anybody. Maybe that's you, but maybe that's not you. I don't know, but that's how I sometimes feel when I get depressed. So I like to sit by myself and alone. I'll sit on the front porch and just look around. Maybe I might listen to a podcast. I don't know, but I don't really want to talk to anybody. I just want to be by myself, and that's okay. I guess that's the biggest thing. I guess that's the number one lesson from number one, is that it's okay that you want to be alone. It doesn't make it like, oh my God, what was me? It doesn't. That's not what I'm trying to say. All I'm trying to say is that sometimes it's just important to be alone. It's important to just sit outside, listen to the birds chirp, allow my mind to slow down, and just process everything that's going on in my life. And maybe that's some of it, is I have so many things going on that just gets jumbled up, and the anxiety starts kicking up. I don't know. But a lot of times when I'm just quiet and I sit by myself, it makes a big, big difference. Number two is physical activity. One of the things I did this morning was I just started working outside. I'm moving rocks around, walking around, constantly moving. And when I say physical activity, it doesn't mean you instantly have to go to the gym. It could be a walk around the block. It could be going up and down the stairs. It could just be getting that heart rate up. I love this time of year because the heat is so important. Maybe it's just going for that long walk around the block and getting that heart rate up and sweating a little bit. I just always feel better. It's like those endorphins that get released in my head, and it allows me to a couple of different things. It allows me to be by myself, where I can actually work and listen to things, but it also allows me to get that heart rate and sweat, and I just feel better. So yeah, sometimes you get a little tired when you're done with it, but I just feel better. It gets you flush out all those blood cells, you flush out all the sweat glands and all that, whatever the toxins are in your body, you get all that out of there, and you allows your mind to be just that much clearer. Number three, this is more of just a thing that it's just a recommendation that I do. It's just when you're depressed, one of the most important things you can do is stay away from drugs and alcohol. Um, Drugs and alcohol, let's be honest, absolutely 100%, they make you feel better. They do. It's reality. That's why they're so popular. They make you feel better. It releases the things in your brain to make you feel better. It's reality. That's why drugs and alcohol are such there's so many people take advantage of them, or take advantage of them too much. But what I keep telling myself when I do this is that the drugs and alcohol will only put a band-aid on the negative thoughts that are in my head. And almost just like, instead of allowing me to work through it, it delays the process of me working through it, because I rely on outside forces or drugs to affect the way I feel. It doesn't allow me to process it. That's the biggest thing, because it almost like drags it on. It's having drugs and alcohol now while I'm, borderline super depressed. um, it'll take me into the night. I'll go to bed and wake up in the morning. I'll still have these same thoughts and same feelings. When I stay away from those things, it allows me to process this thing. And that way I know tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm fired up and I got my checklist ready. I'm ready to go. And I'm just more on my A game. And that depression feels like it just goes away. But it's easy to get caught up in that. I've been caught up in that my entire life. That I get depressed and I go to drugs and alcohol. I get depressed, I go to drugs and alcohol. I've worked so hard in the last few years to really, when I feel depressed, make it a point to myself to stay away from that, because it just drags it out. Alcohol is a depressant. I mean, it's obvious. That's a fact. Yes, it makes you feel better, but the next day you feel like shit. So again, the biggest thing for me is it just doesn't allow the process the situation I'm in, because it puts a band-aid or puts this little ribbon on it that says, hey, I feel better. I like to have fun, go out and talk, but I don't ever process that depression and get through it. So that's so important to stay away from it. Number four, I mentioned that I like to stay alone, but I think this is important as well for a lot of people. And I do this too. I'll just pick up the phone and call a friend. I will call somebody that I haven't talked to in a while that I know will make me feel better about myself. That is okay. It's okay. Like, it's like I justify that stuff to myself. Well, Jeremy, you should be able to work through this yourself. Well, sometimes I can't. And sometimes it's nice to be able to actually reach out to somebody that will have your back and tell you that everything's going to be okay. It's like that old parental thing. Like when the kids are sad or the kids are having a tough day, you can always tell them, hey, kids, things are going to be okay. You never lose that. The older you get, it's kind of nice to be able to have those people in your life that you can reach out and say, hey, tell me my life doesn't suck. Tell me everything's going to be okay. And you just feel better. You feel better, and that's okay. That there's nothing wrong with that. If that works, use it. I mean, my goodness gracious. Number five, this is another big thing that I try and realize, is tomorrow will be better. It always is. It's always better. I go to bed earlier. I get a good night's sleep. It's amazing what sleep does for the body. It repairs itself, repairs your brain, repairs your body, repairs your injuries. Sleep is one of the most important things you could possibly do. So when I'm feeling depressed, or when I'm struggling, I go to bed so early. I'll go to bed at 7 o'clock. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but when I'm not feeling it. And I know it's not gonna get any better. So why would I want to stay in that funk? I'll work through it as much as I can, but at the same time, I'm tired. I'm worn out from thinking about it. I'm worn out for feeling like shit. I'm worn out for being depressed. All I want to do is go to bed. But when I go to bed, I know in my mind, and it's kind of like a light switch. It's just, I know when I wake up, I'm going to be a lot better. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to have more energy. My mind's going to be right. I'm going to have my checklist ready for the day. That's important as well. But I'm going to be so focused for the next day, because I know sometimes nothing's going to change it. Nothing's going to change sometimes nothing even works, but the sleep. But I know for a fact, I know I've done this for years after year after year after year. When I go to sleep and I wake up the next morning, I know, and part of it probably is me thinking about everything's going to be okay when I wake up too. It's that, you're it's that mental shift that I believe deep down in my soul that tomorrow morning is going to be a great morning, and I'm going to wake up full of energy and have a great day. That is important as well. But I again, I'm not trying to. I'm just giving you my advice. What I do, I go to sleep sometimes, flat out. I just go to bed. I just say, you know what, chalk this day up. It was cool. It was great, but I'm out. I am out. I will see you in the funny papers tomorrow morning. Number six, I say this all the time, and this is one of the hardest things to do when you struggle with depression is having that attitude of gratitude. A lot of times, what depression brings on, when things are going tough, it compounds things. You not only are depressed, but you look at all the negativity that's in your life. I don't have a nice enough house. I don't have enough nice enough car. I don't make enough money at my job. My relationship with my boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, kids, whatever sucks. All this shit will compound over and over and over, and it just makes it feel terrible until we take that 5,000 foot view and have that attitude of gratitude that Zig Ziglar says so often. Having that attitude of gratitude, I look around the world, and wherever you're listening to this podcast, you look at the bombings all across the Middle East, Israel, the Gaza Strip, and kids and children, adults, grandparents are all dying in war. There's famine across this world. There is there. I mean, there's so much negativity, and to feel like where I'm at in my life, should be better. Okay, well, maybe it should be better because that's my attitude of grat, or that's my drive. But also at the same time, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the things that I have. I'm grateful that I'm here talking to you. I'm grateful for the listeners around the globe. I'm grateful for the roof over my head, the job that I have, the people I coach with. I'm grateful, and life is so good. And this is if you combine all these things that I'm talking about, you can combine with, depression. I like to sit alone and process my thoughts, the physical activity, to stay away from drugs and alcohol. I call a friend and make myself feel better, knowing tomorrow will be better. And I tie all this stuff into together and to understand that I have this beautiful life. I have an attitude of gratitude. Things could be so much worse, so much worse, and be realistic. Things will probably get worse in my life, but understanding that and having this attitude of gratitude that I know I will come out on the other side allows me to look down that tunnel, and when I see that light, I understand it's not an incoming train. It is actually the light of opportunity. It's the light of forgiveness. It's the forgiveness of myself. It's the light of better days to come. This is what I go through when I get depressed. All these steps, not just one, not just two. A lot of times I just go through them all at one spot. Sitting alone with my own thoughts, the physical activity, the staying away from drugs and alcohol, calling a friend. Tomorrow, I know tomorrow will be better, and then having that attitude of gratitude. When you combine all these things together, it makes fighting depression a lot easier. I truly believe that it'll never go away. It will never go away. But the way I control it and the way I manage it, it allows me to be depressed or have struggle through these things for maybe a day or a few hours, not a whole week, not 2 days, not 3 days, not 4 days, not a month, not a year, none of that. Because if I allow it to stay around, it will consume my life, and I will not be the person that I am. And I don't need to be that person. You don't need to be that person. I say it all the time in this podcast. You have greatness within. So if that's true, and I believe with the bottom of my heart, and people need to hear our messages, we have that greatness. We have that spark in us. We just have to understand when these things come, they're natural. It's going to happen, and we can't be shocked when it happens. We just got to understand that where we're at, where are we in this exact time when we're depressed, and how are we going to get out of it quicker, sooner than what we used to in the past? How are we going to get better at handling it? And that's the way I handle it. I like to sit alone, maybe do a little physical activity, stay away from drugs and alcohol. I may call a friend. I know tomorrow will be better. And then I had that attitude of gratitude. I appreciate listening to this podcast. Share this episode with someone that may be going through these same struggles in their life. I say it in every single episode. You have greatness within. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Let me know when you do it. Run over and grab those shirts, buy that book. I mean, I'm just again, I sometimes, and this is the negative self-talk that I deal with. Yes, I want to be successful with the things that I'm doing, but at the end of the day, I want people to be happy and I want to help people. That's really why we do this. That's the most important thing about this podcast. That's why I've done it for over 4 years, and we're in, I don't know, 100 and some countries around the world. But let's go and end it. Let's shut her down so I can go sit alone and process everything in my head. You got greatness within. Like always, this is the positive side.